Good morning and welcome. It's a real pleasure to be back in San Francisco. I've had the chance to be here, in fact, twice in the last 3 weeks. We first had a chance to talk about our mobile-first and cloud-first vision and focus that's driving everything that we're doing across Microsoft. We talked about a couple of different aspects of our strategy. In the first event, I talked about Office 365 as a cloud service that's going to be fundamentally transformed for a mobile-first, cloud-first world where we're going to make Office available on every device and for everyone, and we launched Office on the iPad. We also talked about the Enterprise Mobility Suite at that event, where we are bringing together a comprehensive IT architecture for everything from device management to identity management to data protection. And then last week at our developer conference at Build, we had a chance to talk about Windows in a mobile-first, cloud-first world. We started off by talking about the universal Windows applications, which really increases the developer opportunity across the entire family of Windows, from large screens to small screens, and having that commonality of API surface area, which we think is a big differentiator for how Windows and our tooling around Windows creates the developer opportunity. We also had a new update to Windows Phone. In fact, the reviews of it, I think, came out yesterday, and they're coming out even still. We introduced this new feature, which is this intelligent agent in Cortana, which is just an exciting thing. It's got a lot to do with, in fact, today's topic even. And then we talked about 250-odd features. Scott Guthrie talked about 250-odd features of our Azure product and service, which is the core cloud infrastructure for developers and enterprises. So we had all of that go on in the last couple of weeks. And today I want to talk about another aspect of our strategy as we move forward in this cloud-first, mobile-first world, and that's data, and more specifically, the data platform. It's very central to our vision going forward. It's very central to our customers. So we want to spend the time today talking about how we're moving that agenda forward. Now, one of the things is it's already a pretty big business for us. It's one of those businesses that's hidden. It's just one of those things that we don't like to talk about it as much, but it is a pretty significant business. SQL Server alone is over $5 billion for us, and it's growing in rapid rates. We have new growth in Azure storage that's at unprecedented levels. In fact, it just doubles every 6 months. We have, of course, Excel on the other end, which is the most ubiquitous tool when it comes to people dealing with data. So we have a pretty broad set of technologies that come together to make our data platform. But of course, what's most important to us and to our customers is how are we evolving our data platform going forward in a world that's mobile-first, cloud-first. And that's what we want to talk about today. When we characterize the future as we see it, the worldview that we come to is this notion of ubiquitous computing and ambient intelligence. There are 3 trends that are at play at increasing levels. The first one is the ubiquity of the computing fabric itself. It comes in the form of sensors. It comes in the form of devices everywhere, big screens in the living room, big screens in the conference room. It's that co-evolution of silicon, hardware, and software that just puts computing pretty much everywhere a human being is present, where humans are interacting with machines. The second trend that is also pervasive is the increasing rates of digitizing every experience that you have with computers. So for example, we have every human interaction with other humans just completely digitized. The interactions between humans and machines is increasingly digitized, as well as the interactions between machines. So these are all trends that are accelerating. The last thing, of course, is that you have now this enormous capacity to reason over all of this digitized information to, in fact, enhance those very interactions and experiences that are being digitized. So these 3 trends together is what form the world of ubiquitous computing and ambient intelligence. And if you look at that world through the lens of data, what you see is this constant, ever-increasing data exhaust that comes from ubiquitous computing. You can envision this as logs from servers. It can be data from sensors. It can be your social stream data, which is unstructured information. It could even be transactional information that's happening at an increasing rate. So you have this constant exhaust. And of course, that all acts as the fuel for ambient intelligence. Now, the question is, how does that magic happen? How do we go from data exhaust to this notion of ambient intelligence? And that's where you need to build out a platform, and you need to take a platform approach to be able to bring what have been disparate set of technologies together. And that's, simply put, our vision with what we describe as the data platform or the ambient intelligence platform. We want to take an architectural approach that brings together different products from Excel on one end to SQL Server and Hadoop on the other end. So this is different products that all have to come together in one cohesive architecture to create this notion of ambient intelligence. We also want to bring together technologies, things like in-memory, which really improve the speed and throughput of everything that you do around data as part of that architecture. You want to be able to bring new capabilities like machine learning that improve our ability to reason using statistical methods that we have not done in the past to this very same architecture. So that's really what we want to talk about. And so if you click down on this notion of ambient intelligence, there is three core things, and it starts for us with people. It starts with everyone in an organization having the curiosity, having the questions, trying to test out hypotheses, trying to gain insights, and then take action. So to us, any notion of building out a data platform or an ambient intelligence platform has to start by weaving people into the center of it all. And the way we do that is by really taking the Office canvas and making it data aware. You can sort of say pivot tables were the first generation of it. But now we're going way beyond that by making it possible for you to have inside of a PowerPoint presentation or an Excel spreadsheet access to all the data all the time, and for you to be able to ask simple questions and get answers, not because we've cut off the data into some silo that goes with an Office document, but think of Office as, in fact, the canvas or the surface area or the scaffolding from which you can access all the data, do, in fact, the complex queries, but in a very natural way. So to that, if there is one core differentiating aspect to how we approach the problem of data, it's perhaps that. It's to transform Office as the UI for data. The second piece is also to transform the core middle tier of data, which is the analysis and processing layers, so that you can deal with the variety of data that we are faced with. It's that structured information coming from your transactional system. It's the unstructured data that's coming from perhaps your social streams. It's the log data that's coming from your servers. You want to be able to reason over all of that. That means you want to bring together what has been to date the two different worlds of parallel data warehouses built on SQL technologies, as well as technologies like Hadoop into one fabric on which you can do analysis and computation. This is a place where we will also bring in new capabilities around machine learning over time so that you have the same technology fabric for you to be able to do analysis. The last aspect is around data itself and the storage systems itself. And now, in this area, there's some fundamental changes happening, starting with just the memory hierarchy. If you think about it, late Jim Gray used to talk about how the disk is the new tape. And guess what? Now it's true. Now you have in-memory technologies fundamentally getting plumbed into the full transactional systems, BI systems, as well as the data warehousing systems of SQL that make the throughput and speed of these data processing systems so much more faster. So that fundamental change pretty much changes all aspects of how we thought about data and how we thought about the speed with which we did business around data. So these three areas of people, analytics, and data storage is what constitutes the build-out of the ambient intelligence platform. Now, talking about technology is one thing, But if you really, as an organization, want to change anything, it's about culture. And when it comes to data and to be able to truly benefit from this platform, you need to have a data culture inside of your organization. For me, this is perhaps the most paramount thing inside of Microsoft. If you look at it, what is it that we are in business of? We create services and products and devices, and the thing that we need to do a better job on than anyone else is to be able to learn from our customers and the data, the exhaust of usage, and to continuously improve our products and services. That's our job number one by far. And it's not going to happen without having that data culture where every engineer every day is looking at the usage data, learning from that usage data, questioning what new things to test out with our products, and being on that improvement cycle, which is the lifeblood of Microsoft. Now, it's not just about engineering and development at Microsoft. In fact, every aspect of Microsoft, from finance, how they are going to do continuous forecasting in this very rapidly evolving world of ours. How does HR do people analytics? How does real estate, in fact, manage the real estate facilities? Because now, if you're in the cloud business, real estate is just not about housing people. It's perhaps, it's more important to us, given all the data centers that we run and the environment around the data centers, because that's basically tied to our SLAs to our customers. So there is every aspect of Microsoft's business is being fundamentally transformed because of data, and that doesn't happen because of technology. It happens because you have to build deeply into the fabric of the company a culture that thrives on data. So we want to talk about this, and we want to show you how Microsoft itself is using data and inculcating this notion of data culture across the various aspects of how we run our business. And to show you that, I wanted to invite up on stage Aaron Kelly from our data platform team. Aaron?
Thanks, Satya.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to be here and talk about how Microsoft employees have fully embraced the data culture. And we've done this by transforming the tools that you use every day, like Office, and really allow them to easily unlock the value of ambient intelligence. No longer are we looking at static reports and charts. Now it's about interactive and rich experiences. Let me show you through a couple of vignettes. I'm going to start with our cybercrime team. Now at Microsoft, we have a cybercrime team whose mission is to identify botnets when they enter the wild, understand how they work and analyze them, then shut them down and help local law enforcement arrest the criminals. Now, of course, as you can imagine, that generates a lot of data, and you need to analyze a lot of data. But the challenge you have is the lawyers and the investigators aren't data scientists by trade. And so when they see data like this, it's interesting and important, but it's hard for them to really see the big trends. That's where a tool like Power Map comes in, which is part of Excel. It allows me to now richly visualize that data in a 3D interactive map. It's kind of like going from the Andy Griffith Show to NCIS, if you think about it. Okay, so what you see here is a list of all these infected machines around the world. And one of the things we've learned over the last couple of years is that these criminals don't like to have viruses installed on machines in their home countries. Why? They don't like the idea of local law enforcement coming after them, right? They'd rather be at an arm's length. And so if we look at this map here, we can see that there's a lot of infection here in the US. So the criminals are probably not in the US. So if I span the globe here, let me go check out Western Europe. Oh, Western Europe, a lot of infection there. Those are probably not where the criminals are hiding. But gosh, there is a very bright line there that separates Western Europe from Eastern Europe, specifically Ukraine and Russia, right? Okay. Well, in fact, as our engineers started to reverse engineer the botnets, they saw that they were designed to not install on machines with Ukrainian and Russian language packs. So armed with rich information like this, the investigation team was able to narrow their investigation and rapidly catch the criminals. It's a great example of how you're accelerating that insight to quicker arrests and richer experiences. So here's just one great example. So let me switch to finance. Satya mentioned our finance teams. And our finance teams have been using these tools for all kinds of things, including the incredibly exciting area of cost management. Now, just at the mention of cost management, I see the gentleman in the front row is already starting to yawn, and that's okay, I understand that, because this is kind of how we would do it, right? So if we looked at airfare at Microsoft, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year in travel. And so it's an important area to focus on. But historically, it was like this. right? You go through slides talking about costs. And yes, the gentleman in the front row is now completely fallen asleep. And I don't blame him, because at Microsoft, we would do 27 slides per country, times 50 countries, 1,350 slides around airfare and cost management. Really, really difficult. Now, it's just one power view. Interactive and rich. One slide versus 1,300. I can choose a country like France. I can see how the cost in France over the years has gone up. Maybe that's a bad thing. But if I go over here and look at what percentage of trips are external versus internal, I can see that my external trips are going up. That's a good thing. That means my sellers are out visiting customers, creating better experiences with them. If I switch and look at internal, I can see that my internal costs are going down. So the number of trips that people are doing to visit internal customers and visit internal folks is going way down. That's a great thing. And it's because in France, they've used Link a lot. Now, one of the really important metrics, of course, is cost per mile. And you can see cost per mile has been going down over the last couple of years. What are the big drivers? Well, of course, one of them is when you schedule your ticket. If you schedule your ticket over 21 days out, you can see that the cost per mile is cut in half. If you're late, like me sometimes, you can see how the cost per mile is more than double the average. Okay, that's intuitive. People understand that. But in the past, that was buried on slide 17. It was hard to see. Now it's front and center where everyone can interact with it and see the data. It's very, very rich. It's a great example of a data culture. Now, speaking of everyone, Satya mentioned the real estate team. And our facilities folks have been using these technology as well to better understand power consumption around the buildings within the Redmond area. And so if I take you to some of their data, again, it's kind of like this. It's hard for sort of the non-data scientists to really find the insights. And again, I'm going to go to PowerMap, which is a great way of visualizing data. Now, in this case, I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at the power consumption by building. That's the bars. And I'm also seeing what the average temperature is in the Redmond area. That's this heat map. And what's really cool about this is I can just play this animation and see the interaction. Now, no, this is not the baseline for the latest Macklemore song. This is, in fact, the interaction between power goes up as the temperature goes down. As the temperature in Redmond goes up, the power consumption goes down. So you can see that interaction. It's very rich, it's very intuitive, and it's engaging. Everyone can find an insight from that. But I want to drill deeper. And so I want to come over here and talk about an incredible new feature as part of our Power BI service called Q&A. Now, what Q&A does is like it sounds. It allows you to ask a question and get an answer. And so if I start here with that same data set, let me just take a look at, say, total energy by date. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking at the total energy by date. I can type. Yeah, total energy by date. And I can see that same pattern that we saw in the past with, there we go. You can see the same pattern that we saw on the animated power map. You can see energy consumption is much higher during the winter months, and it's much lower in the summer months. Unfortunately, in Redmond, we don't have a lot of need for air conditioning in the summer. I wish that wasn't the case. But you can see that consumption. Rich interactive chart. I can also say, look at it by building. And what Q&A does is it says, hey, you're interested in a comparison of buildings. Let me give you a bar chart. And I can immediately see that Braver 1 is using a lot of energy. All right, so we need to go out and talk to the folks at Braver 1. Or do we? Maybe if I look at another comparison, and if I compare it versus people, I can see the scatter plot. And now I see that Braver 1 actually has one of the largest buildings on campus. It has more people annually that go to it than other buildings. And so the energy consumption is kind of on that diagonal like I'd expect. Whereas the Commons is really standing out. Now, for those of you who have been to Redmond, you'll know that the Commons is kind of a retail space. There's a lot of restaurants there. And so it's kind of natural that there's a lot of energy consumption there. And there's not a lot of full-time employees. But Building 121 is definitely standing out. Building 121 is definitely an anomaly. So let me go drill into that and look at Building 121 versus, say, Building 34. And Building 34 had a similar size. Let me look at that by date. And it's a similar size. And now I'm really finding an interesting insight. During the summer months, the energy consumption is about the same. But in winter, you see Building 121 is using a lot more energy. Well, it turns out that someone was running a furnace in Building 121, heating up the garage to a tune of $66,000 a month. Now, historically, the facilities team was not able to see this because they just assumed, hey, that's the normal pattern for Building 121. When in fact, once they were able to make this relative comparison, the true insight came out. And what's great about this is it's simply asking a question and getting an answer. It's very interactive. Now, the last vignette I want to show you is around marketing. And at Microsoft, Bing is this amazing asset for us. It's an incredible corpus of ambient intelligence. And one of the cool things with Power BI is I can create these questions that are kind of ready to go. So I can just click on it, and it asks a question. In this case, I'm looking at Bing searches for phones by market and category. And the idea was, hey, if we look at what people are searching for, what category of phones and where, can we better tailor our marketing and advertising? And so you can see on this map, I'm able to see, hey, here's where low-end phones are being searched for. Here's where high-end phones are going to be searched for. Very, very interesting and intuitive to help me with my tuning marketing. But I may also want to understand when people are doing the marketing, so I can better tune that in. So if I switch that to day, I can start to see an interesting pattern, right? People are searching for phones during certain parts of the day. And maybe if I want to look at that by day of week, I'm now starting to see a pattern. Okay, Wednesdays and Thursdays, people are searching. Saturdays and Sundays, not so much. But what if I compare this to, say, phone activations? And instead of looking at it as a scatter plot, I want to look at it as a line chart. Now the real insight comes out. I can see how people are searching for our phones on Wednesdays and Thursdays, but they're buying and activating over the weekend. So armed with that information, as well as an understanding of where people are searching from, I can better tailor my advertising to focus on Wednesday during the week. That's when people are making the decisions. And then make sure that the right messages are landing in the right locations. So it's a great example of how we're using the data culture at Microsoft to transform our business and really unlock the power of ambient intelligence. Thank you very much. Welcome, Satya.
Thank you, Aaron. Hopefully that gave you a good feel for how we at Microsoft are using this technology platform to change fundamentally the culture and how people approach their work. And as I said, it starts with that curiosity and questions that each one of us has. And the key technology breakthrough for us is how do we make it possible for use the tools that you use on a daily basis, which is Office, and yet make the power of data just shine through. In fact, there's some very amazing technology behind that PowerPoint presentation that had access to all that real estate data. There is a compressed column store which is powering all of that. So this is not about just some data in an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint that goes with the PowerPoint or the spreadsheet. It's in fact a cloud service in this case that has all the data that's available to the user all the time. But more important than that is how did this all come about? And perhaps that's the story that we want to evangelize. That's the story that we want to learn from ourselves and our customers' experiences and really get on this improvement cycle. If you look at it, even that real estate example required IT, development, and end users to come together to create that. For example, there are over 2 million sensors inside of Microsoft. This is in the real estate facilities. That's just generating close to 500 million transactions per day. That's all getting collected in a Hadoop system. Then a developer goes to work on it and reduces that using MapReduce into something that then can be loaded into a SQL analysis server. So that means that's possible for you then as an end user to go in with something like Excel and create that semantic model that powers that Q&A feature. So the fact that at the end of the day, the end user wants to just be able to go to a SharePoint site and start asking questions. But behind that, you really had IT build the systems that could scale for the throughput required. You had developers work the entirety of the processing stream so that you could, in fact, take all that data and make it into a warehouse, which then enabled a power user in Excel to be able to create a semantic model, which then enabled everyone inside of the organization to be able to have access to that Q&A feature. That notion of being able to empower individuals or teams and entire organizations that was done by the coming together of IT development and end users is a sensibility that we have in many other areas, and we want to bring that to the world of data. That means you have to take a first-class job of tooling. So even for developers, how do we take all of the developer APIs from Hadoop to SQL to be able to do things like sentiment analysis on streams data and through ML techniques? All of that, how do we bring it together with Visual Studio is a very important problem, and we want to bring our best work there. How do we then have the systems which deal with a variety of different data, from the NoSQL databases to the SQL databases, to be able to do different kinds of processing, like MapReduce or real-time streaming. So those are the aspects of uniqueness that we bring, but bring it together with a cohesiveness of an architecture that brings all these things together. Now, the real the milestone for us today is that we have 3 new products that we're announcing that make up part of our data platform. The first one is SQL 2014, or SQL Server 2014. This is a pretty breakthrough product for us in the industry. For the very first time, we have now in-memory technology built into every workload of SQL Server. So that means there is online transaction processing, or OLTP, now can take advantage of in-memory without changing your existing applications, and that's a very key point for us. Second, it's about the BI workload that has that compressed column store in memory that accelerates your ability to get analysis out of your systems and to be able to build out your data warehouses using in-memory technology. So we now have the technology in SQL Server that accelerates every workload by significant throughput, and we'll talk more about that. The second service, or the second product that we're announcing today or launching today, is the analytics platform system. Now this, for the very first time, brings together the parallel data warehouse of SQL with a Hadoop region. So that means now you have the ability in one affordable appliance to be able to do queries across both of these. I mean, you can imagine the scenarios. You can imagine having data from your transactional systems, your log information from your servers and websites, as well as social streams, and the ability now to be able to query across all of this. There's a piece of technology that David Dewitt and his team were fundamental contributors to called Polybase, which is just amazing in terms of you bringing the power of SQL language now to be able to span across Hadoop as well as regular SQL. And we think that that's some breakthrough work, and that's all part of this product. The last thing we are also announcing today is a preview of a new IoT, or an Internet of Things service. It's called the Azure Intelligent Systems Service. This makes it possible for you now to be able to collect data from all the sensors and servers, bringing that into the cloud so that you can take advantage of the rest of the data platform to be able to do the analysis, the machine learning. And so that is a service that I think will take out all the friction that exists in being able to connect the cloud with the Internet of Things trend that is only going to increase. And so we have some exciting set of customers and third-party ISVs who are already working with this service and learning from it. And so we are very excited to have the preview launch today. So those are the 3 specific announcements. But we've been at work on a rapid pace because these 3 products join this full platform that we have around data. So as I said, it starts with the core capabilities of Office itself, with Excel, SharePoint, and the Power BI service, which we launched just around 6 weeks ago. In Azure, we have all the storage systems and processing systems, from HD Insight, which is our Hadoop service, to the Azure databases, Azure storage. So these are the capabilities that are available in the cloud. But one of the other interesting aspects of Azure is every workload of SQL runs in the infrastructure as a service. In fact, it even gets better because you can take SQL 2014 and tier it with Azure. So in order to get something like high availability, which is a very, very important aspect for IT, you can in fact get that from Azure, because you can have read-only secondaries and high availability configurations of SQL automatically tiered for you from your on-premise deployment. So we're really not even thinking of these worlds of cloud and on-premise private clouds as 2 different and distinct things, but it's one integrated computing and storage fabric for customers. And lastly, we have SQL 2014 as well as the analytics platform system. So that describes the breadth of our data platform. But the thing that's most important for us is the data culture. Because in some sense, a lot of the technology that is there today and how we will evolve it is going to feed off of the feedback cycle. In some sense, we will feed off of the data that we get. on what is the friction, how are people using these products to bring about that fundamental change within organizations so that they can get the data dividend. Because one of the things that is most latent in terms of value inside of an organization is the value that's contained in the data. And the question is, how do you empower the people inside of the organization to be able to take full advantage of that and really reap the rewards? And so to talk more about that, I wanted to invite up on stage our Chief Operating Officer, Kevin Turner, and have him take you through a lot of what our customers are doing in terms of data culture. Kevin? Thank you.
Well, I'm privileged and humbled and honored to be here today to share some thoughts around these exciting announcements that we have for our business customers and enterprises around the world. So again, it's a real humbling honor. It's also exciting to hear Satya's view and vision about ambient intelligence and ubiquitous computing. I think we're all lined up as an organization to really harness the power and the value of that over the next few years. And today is a big step forward for us to be able to really move in that direction, and we've got some exciting things to share with you. Before I start today, though, I do want to thank you and thank the customers in this room and the partners in this room for certainly making and taking the time, but also for your partnership. Many of the things and technologies and innovations that we're going to share today have been developed with your feedback, with your input, and with you in mind, you at the center. And all those on the webcast, again, a big, big thank you, because today is a big day for us. It's a big day for us to really put some lines in the sand and make a big impact as it relates to really business intelligence and big data and being able to bring incredible insights to your business. So thank you for both customers and partners in the room. And certainly at any point in time, my email address is up there. If there's anything I can do for you to help accelerate your insights in your data platform business, please let me know. Now, one of the things that, if you think about this idea of ubiquitous computing and ambient intelligence, and you think about sort of the beginning and the end of that, we see 4 trends that are really helping anchor and enable what we've talked about here today. And there's certainly cloud, mobility, social, and the 4th one, which is BI and big data, that we're going to talk about at length throughout this process and throughout the session today. And cloud, that has been our fastest growing customer acceptance business in our company's history. And as you all know and know well, we have 3 distinct types of cloud: in private, hybrid, and public. And you're going to see us anchor a lot around the Azure cloud today, but specifically, and Office 365. And those are very important for us from a data intelligence perspective. In the mobility space, we've made some big announcements of recent times, talking about cross-platform as it relates to management with the new releases of System Center that we have in the market, as well as absolutely declaring that we're going to have the best productivity solution around mobility is important for us as well. And the intended acquisition of Nokia pending regulatory approval. We're making big steps and big inroads to have great management, to have great productivity, and to have and create great devices. In the social space, particularly for enterprises, we've seen a big push, both inside and outside the firewall, of being able to build a platform with SharePoint that allows you to integrate your favorite social tools, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, whatever it may be, into the platform. And being able to bring that business intelligence is a key element and a foundational point of what we're going to talk about today from a data standpoint. But the real trend that we see today from an announcement standpoint that Satya talked about is, how is Microsoft going to embrace BI and big data with our customers and with our partners? And that's at the heart of what I want to talk to you about and what I want to share with you. Now, when you think about what leading edge companies are doing in this space, there's a couple of things that really jump out. Because what's lost in the big data conversation is there's tremendous value in data. And everybody knows data is valuable, but how do you really extract the deep insights to be able to do that? And the enablers that we see, certainly in the foundational pillars that we built our data platform on is around the cloud. It is around reach, the ability to really connect with people regardless of where they are, the ability for customers to connect with companies to connect with customers, to have great reach both inside and outside the firewall is a foundation for us. And every company in the world, including our own, wants to do things faster. How do we accelerate the pace and accelerate insights to be able to make great business decisions? And that's at the heart of our data platform story. Now, the thing that I want to also share with you today is we commissioned a report from IDC to really study hundreds of companies to really see what could be the potential value of data in organizations. And it's really about turning that data element into currency, because your data, our data, any data is actual currency that can be used to really exploit and improve customer service, speed to market, the ability to connect more deeply with customers, and is a very, very powerful thing in the world we all live in today. And I think when you see by the end of this day, your data has tremendous value, and we've created some great tools and a platform that allows you to really extract that value and get the most from it. So when you think about the opportunity that we have, the IDC report that we got that studied hundreds of companies said that this was a $1.6 trillion worldwide opportunity as it relates to companies being able to grow their business. So that's a top-line number that IDC gave us. And I also thought it would be interesting to say, because we have a lot of our customers and partners here, what would be the value and the potential value of the people just in this room that we have assembled here today. And that number is over $5.4 billion by IDC's estimation. So as you can all see, there's tremendous opportunity for us to really be able to take advantage of where we're going to take the data dividend. The other thing that we did, which we think is important, is when you look at the construct that Satya shared earlier today around this idea of having data, analytics, and people at the center is a really important element for us to be able to share with you. So when you think about our framework for how businesses are going to harness this business value and create great insight, it's really with these three things in mind. Because data comes in many shapes and sizes and structured, both structured and unstructured data. And that's important for us. Analytics applied with learning and the reasoning to bring order and intelligence from the data is something our platform delivers today. And then when you think about people at the center, as Satya said, is really important for us to ask more questions, harness their creativity, and continue to extract tremendous value from that. So we've created a formula, a formula that we think will be very useful for our customers and our partners to be able to bring great insight across business intelligence and harnessing big data. The formula that we've got for really driving this data dividend is specifically around the data dividend formula. Let me go to it here. There it is. The data dividend formula is data plus analytics plus people at speed. This is the simple formula that we're really going to bring out our products, solutions, and services today to be able to help companies and customers, as well as our partner network, be able to go in and create tremendous value from data. Let's talk some specifics about that. On the data side, what you're really going to see from us to be able to realize the value from data, is our data platform. And it starts first and foremost with SQL Server. And we're going to talk about a new release and a new launch of that product. But any type of data, both structured and unstructured, is important in our world. All sources of data within the walls and data from public data sources, both inside the firewall and outside the firewall, become more and more important for companies and customers to be able to really use and leverage. The volumes of data, when you think about scaling from terabytes, and I was privileged to be really on the application development team that developed the largest industrialized commercial data warehouse in the world at one time, we were talking about terabytes. Today it's about petabytes. because of the proliferation of devices and the cloud and the ability to really get at all of the data. So when you think about managing the data, we think that's also a very interesting place for us to be. But let me jump in on the data side, because when you think about any data, any volume, anywhere, there's a few things that I want to pull out for this for you. Because our strategy is really to process data where the data lives, in its native format. Any type of data, and all sources of data, both within the walls within the firewalls and outside the firewalls, is a really important element for you to think through. All volumes of data scaling up to petabytes, again, is a very important element for us. And then being able to manage all of the data requires a platform that can connect to the data anywhere, wherever the work occurs. And we're delivering these capabilities with this new release of SQL Server and Microsoft Azure. When you think about two elements that enterprises really want to make sure when they make an investment, is it secure and can it scale? And we have some very important news to share with you today, because for the last 5 years in a row, the least vulnerable database, according to the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, has been Microsoft SQL Server. And as you can see, 2 of those years, in 2013 and 2010, we had 0 vulnerabilities reported. So we're going to continue to invest, as we have for more than 13 years, in trustworthy computing and having a great, safe, and secure platform. We're not declaring victory on security. We're simply actually sharing with you the results from a vulnerability perspective of where our platform fits relative to our competition. We know that this is an important element for our customers and for our partners. The second area is the growth in SQL Server has been unprecedented. From a revenue and a unit share growth, we now have 45% market share, and it's the most widely deployed database in the world. So we have scale, and we're certainly very committed to security. And we're not resting on our laurels, because there's a couple of things you're going to hear about today that I'll tee up that I think are also very important. Transparent data encryption capabilities are becoming even more important in multi-tenant environments like cloud. And we have a feature called the encryption key management, which allows you to store your encryption keys on a separate server than the one running on SQL Server, and instance that for greater security. So we're going to continue to create incredible, safe, secure, and tremendous value for you as it relates to these 2 elements. The other area I would talk about is analytics. In the analytics space, it's really about a couple of new announcements that we've got, starting with the analytics platform system. I talked about the foundational area of being SQL, but in partnership with Hortonworks, we've also delivered a solution for non-relational data, Hortonworks HDP on Windows on-premises and Azure HD Insight in the cloud. With APS, as we affectionately call our application platform system, you can now connect to big data on premises, big data in the cloud, and now big data on the appliance with a Hadoop region. Now, with the Polybase in our application platform system, we make analyzing all of your forms of data very, very easy for you. And so when you think about this opportunity with analytics, I think it's a really important thing for you to think through, because we're very committed to this for the long term. With this analytics platform system, we're going to continue to really work hard to give you the analytics platform and tools that you need to harness the power of your data. So you're going to hear, and Quentin's going to come out and take you through some very specific details, but we're very proud to be able to offer these capabilities around analytics across our 3 distinct types of clouds that we have, which are private, hybrid, and public. The other part about analytics that I'll touch on around the analytics platform system is the ability to really go deeply as it relates to the appliance area. And we've got great partners with HP and Dell that are helping us make the appliance, but the ability to scale out up to petabytes of data, have that in-memory column store for 100x speed improvement, dedicated regions for Hadoop, as well as joining relational and non-relational data with our Polybase. Very, very exciting and compelling, and we think it's market leading as it relates to what's available in the marketplace. The second area on analytics I'd touch on has to do with the Microsoft Azure HD Insight. Now, the HD Insight is our managed Hadoop-based service that brings 100% Apache Hadoop solution to the cloud. And it actually allows you to quickly create a Hadoop cluster scaled to fit your demand, leading to cost savings only possible and available through the cloud. Now, with HD Insight, you can seamlessly store and process data of all types using your Azure storage. And it's integrated with System Center and Active Directory, which helps you bring you enterprise security and manageability with Hadoop. And so you can really use this to analyze Hadoop data with the Microsoft Business Intelligence tools, thanks to the integration with Excel and our Power BI application. The third area I'd talk about was really people at the center. Because as mentioned earlier, Excel is now the most ubiquitous business intelligence tool in the world, with over 1 billion people using it, which is very exciting for us. And it only continues to get better. And making our Office product, including Excel, as Satya said, more data aware is a very important element in our business intelligence strategy. Now, the new capabilities in Excel include the ability to easily discover and explore and connect and transform data from new data sources. That's really important for us because we want to easily merge internal and external data and manage billions of rows across data in Excel. We also have some incredible visualization technology, which Aaron showed just before I came on. And again, we're going to continue to make that even richer as we go forward. And with the adoption of Power BI and the capabilities we've got using Office 365, we believe that end users can better collaborate and share insights. And the users can share data sets, report insights, and build off one another's insights with various BI sites and capability that we have built in. So the ability to really make insights more accessible with natural language search, inspiring more curiosity within your workforce is something that we aim and aspire to have with our BI and big data story and our data platform. And as a service delivered on Office 365, we're going to continue to reduce the friction for you around the deployment and adoption of these tools. But by enabling people with insights anywhere for you and your company, we're providing you with the tools you need to increase the value of your data dividend. The other part of this has to do with speed. And today, with the technology and innovation breakthroughs that the team has been able to accomplish, we have some incredible announcements around the speed for our in-memory computing that we're going to deliver in SQL 2014. Now, when you think about this opportunity, we see it across we aspire and aim to have the best price performance database and data platform in the world. But let's talk about what we're actually building from an in-memory perspective. Because in-memory gives us a lot of capabilities, because it gives you the ability to work with billions of rows in Excel. It gives you the ability to scale to large-scale analytics and do it in a very simplistic fashion. It also gives you the ability to have over 100x query performance for faster operational reporting and data warehousing. And then lastly, I would tell you, we've seen a 30x improvement as it relates for transaction processing through OLTP. Very exciting for us. So how are we delivering these technologies, which is also unique? You can use your existing skills on our platform, and you gain the full benefits of the SQL Server capabilities. The other thing that I would tell you is to take advantage of in-memory on the Microsoft platform. You do not have to rewrite your applications, and you don't need an expensive specialty piece of hardware. We're actually building it and embedding it into the product. And only Microsoft is delivering built-in, in-memory across the entire data platform. It's a big competitive advantage for us that will bring our customers, you, and our partners tremendous value in the marketplace. The other thing I'd tell you, when you think about the opportunity that we have, is this 30x performance that we are getting with our online transaction processing gives us the ability to dramatically improve speed at which you're able to find, use, share, and access data. And when you look across our entire data platform, when you start across the ability to have what SQL Server does for us, it gives us the price performance that we need, that's market leading. It gives us incredible compression metrics so that you can actually reduce your storage costs. It gives us latency improvements, and it gives us the 30x OLTP transaction processing speed. That is an incredible value add that we're bringing to our marketplace with our customers and our partners. And I think if you think about the opportunity to see that customers will now not only be able to scale up what they've got in the relational world, but also in the unstructured world, we think that will really unlock future business scenarios that maybe haven't even been thought about today. The ability for employees to ask any question is something that we think is absolutely driving to a competitive advantage. So when you think about this opportunity of data, analytics, people, and speed, you can do one of these elements and obtain incremental improvement and good and solid improvement. If you do all of these elements, we actually see it as a game changer. The ability for you to really change the game, getting into predictive analytics, getting into the ability to unlock and let your employees use self-service business intelligence tools that they've grown up with to unlock any, be able to ask any question, both inside and outside the firewall from a data standpoint. The power of that to transform a business, we think, has never been greater than it is today. And one of the good customers that we've worked with came to us and said, hey, look, we don't have small data requirements. In fact, they actually have one of their database tables has over a quintillion rows in that particular database. So we're not talking about terabytes and petabytes. We're talking about an unbelievable amount of data. In fact, this particular customer, NASDAQ, actually accumulates more structured data in one day than most companies have in totality. So the ability to really work with them and create across a quintillion rows, give them something that they've never had before, is something we've done with SQL Server 2014. And it's very, very impactful. And we think that it's going to only continue to get more and more pervasive. So we've got this technology deployed in a mission-critical world, and we're very excited about that. Because we've had a heck of a year on our consumer and enterprise group at Microsoft from an innovation perspective. Just like NASDAQ, it's great to see customers transforming their businesses and realizing data dividends. Because when you think about the opportunity we have to be able to come back with incredible innovation in around Power BI for Office 365, SQL Server 2014, Microsoft Azure, it's an incredible year of innovation that we've been able to have, and one that we're going to continue to do that. Excel being the most widely deployed BI tool on the planet, SQL Server being the most widely deployed database in the enterprise world with double-digit growth, and the ability to now have over 1 million databases stored on Azure give us an incredibly strong platform of which to build and talk to you about from an innovation perspective. And when you think about what Satya teed up about driving for ambient intelligence and how over the next few years the ability to have intelligence just like the air around us and how powerful that can be. We really want to work closely with our customers and our partners to help you take your data, take it and turn it into information. The information becomes insights. And then more importantly, the insights drive strategic decisions. That's really at the heart of where the Microsoft data platform strategy is today. And we're very excited and humbled to be able to bring these great products and services and solutions to the marketplace for you. This is not a roadmap discussion or a roadmap presentation for you today. It is actually what we're delivering in the marketplace with customers and with our valued partner network. Now, when you think about some of the opportunities that we've got, Quentin Clark's going to come out and he's going to walk you through some very detailed aspects of our platform in more detail. But before Quentin does that, I would like to share a story of Warner Brothers, one of our very good customers, and what they've been able to do by integrating data and providing a rich, immersive experience. And Warner Brothers is increasing their data dividend, and you will see that in a moment. And so as I exit, let me also end where I began, which is thank you very much for your time, thank you for your attendance, and certainly, and more importantly, thank you for your partnership. We look forward to working closely with you, and we're ready to get started with you to help you maximize your data dividend across your platform. Please roll the video.
Warner Bros. Games have a diverse portfolio both from a title perspective and from a platform perspective. We have our hands in console games, online games, and mobile games. One of the biggest gaps for our executive management is a true global enterprise vision into metrics.
Executives want to know if that game is being effectively monetized. We're really pulling a lot of data from finance, from sales. That's where all the structured data really comes from.
So we've turned to Microsoft and in particular SQL Server, SharePoint, and their suite of products around BI and reporting.
The challenge is in associating that sales data to actually gameplay data.
We were very excited when Microsoft proposed HD Insight Services to us because one of the big gaps from a technology perspective is unstructured data. Large amounts of data, sentiment data, social data.
Today, we actually have several terabytes of data in the cloud. We aggregate that data as a warehouse, leveraging the Microsoft Azure platform, infrastructure as a service. We deliver it through the Power BI tools. It's really distilled down to dashboards and very effective reports. This whole new technology is a game changer today because I can actually take the data as it is and just ingest all that data. I can then process the data out as I learn the requirements in real time. Some of the insight that we're gathering is really understanding our player behavior. What are they doing? What do they like about the game? We can then make the game either more or less challenging and maybe even tailor the game specifically to that individual player.
By utilizing the entire Microsoft BI stack, we were able to not only provide some of the metrics that our senior executives and also our staff, quite frankly, was asking for, but we were able to rapidly provide some metrics that I don't even think they knew that they wanted. If my favorite DC character, the Riddler, was to utilize Microsoft Azure, it would be flamboyant, loud, in your face, and successful.